right, everybody, welcome back to the Easy Yoke Endurance podcast. This will be the second episode that will be actually released at the same time as the first episode, just because in the time between recording the first episode, editing everything, and trying to get through the process of what it takes to publish a podcast, both video podcast on Spotify and YouTube, and audio podcast everywhere else. I had to learn a couple of things, and patience was part of the things that I had to learn. There's a bit of patience required when you go to publish a podcast. So this podcast is basically going to come out in conjunction with the premiere episode that was recorded prior to this one. But it's not a full week later, and so it's kind of, we're not to the Bataan Memorial Death March episode. I have not recorded that one yet, but I wanted to come with the kind of a bonus episode to get you kicked off so you can binge listen to the Easy Yoke Endurance podcast. And this one is everything that you need to start training. And more specifically, everything that you need to start running. Everything that you need to start training for endurance. And that is just a pair of shoes. You literally, to start training for endurance events, the only thing you need to possess is a pair of shoes. Hopefully, a pair of running shoes. If you don't have a pair of running shoes, I would suggest getting a pair of running or walking shoes, because the best way to start running is to start walking and then kind of running and then walking and then kind of running. You know, a lot of people start with 1-2 split, and that means that, let's say we go out and we start jogging for 1 minute. After we are done jogging for 1 minute, we walk for 2 minutes, and at the end of the 2-minute walk, we go ahead and run for another minute, and we just keep repeating that for the length of time that we are trying to get running. Not the distance that we're trying to run, or not the time that we're trying to walk, but for the time that we want to run. So if we were looking at we're like, hey, we're looking at doing this running event and we need to train for 30 minutes. Well, then we would go on a 1-2 cycle for 30 minutes. Or if you had the time, or you were feeling good, maybe you're going to do the 1-2 cycle for an hour, or maybe you're going to do the 1-2 cycle until you have 30 repetitions of 1 minute running time. Either way, the only thing you need to do that with is a pair of running shoes. And there are just a nightmare of options when it comes to selecting running shoes. However, the best pair of running shoes to start training with is probably the pair of running shoes that you own today. In your closet, dig them out. There's a pair of running shoes. Now, they might be beat and they might be worn out and destroyed, but they're probably roadworthy for the amount of running that a person in my condition is about to do. I'm probably not going to log a really long amount of time or a really long amount of miles at a high speed to the point where I need to have some kind of fancy, advanced, specifically tailored to my foot or to my stride running shoe. Now, as we get closer to events and as we build up our endurance and our time on our feet, we're going to want to dial in running shoes to our needs. Now, for me, I do have a few running shoes here in front of me. And if you are watching this podcast, then you can see them, and you've been able to see them this entire time. And if you're just listening to the podcast, then I will do my best to describe these running shoes to you and what they are and what they are for. I hope I probably do not know the model names perfectly, and maybe I should look that up, and maybe I should try and put that into the description of the video or something, or the description of the podcast. That'll be a new thing for me to try to get right. So the first shoe I have in front of me, and these are not specific shoe recommendations. This is more about although both of these shoes are really great shoes, so they could be good recommendations, but running shoes and shoe brands are kind of like different people fit in different shoes differently, right? So I used to run in a lot of ASIC shoes, and you're going to have to forgive me. I will probably say a lot of these brand names completely wrong. That is the Oklahoman in me. I enunciate things in my Oklahoman tongue oftentimes. And man, I can really read a word in a way that it was never meant to be read or never meant to be spoken. But I used to run in a lot of ASICS shoes, ASIC gel, Cumulus gel. It's like the ultimate dad shoe, and it's a great shoe. And I would probably suggest that one to anyone. The ASICS Cumulus gel. I do not have those in front of me right now as I'm talking. But I guarantee that somewhere in my grass cutting shoe collection is 3 or 4 pairs of ASIC Cumulus gel number, whatever year it was that I was running in that shoe. But there's some, cooler shoes out now that I like running in. And so those are some of the ones I have in front of me right now. And each one of these shoes that I'm going to discuss kind of has a different place in the training arsenal as far as my running goes. Now, I'm not doing a whole lot of running yet, but I am cycling between these two shoes in light amounts for the purposes that each shoe fits. And let's talk about that. So the first shoe I would like to talk about is what I call a daily running shoe, or a tempo running shoe. And that would be a shoe that is a neutral shoe with no aggressive heel toe drop. And that kind of shoe is not a max cushion shoe. You've probably seen today that there are a lot of different max cushion shoes, and the shoe that I'm discussing right here, or the shoe that fits into that space in my closet, is a Hoka Mach 5. And the Hoka Mach 5, Hoka makes a lot of max cushion shoes, and I think they're probably really most popular or most well known for their cushioned shoes. And the Mach 5, it still has that real cloudy, squishy feel when you're running on the road. But it is not a max cushion shoe, and I do not suggest for short distance runs to always have a max cushion shoe. Although depending on how overweight you are, max cushioning can be something that makes the process a little bit more enjoyable. But I like to reserve max cushion for other things, and I'll discuss that in a second. But yeah, what I have is a Hoka Mach 5 neutral running shoe, and that is my daily, and you can see they're not clean. If you're watching the video, you can see they're not clean. If you're listening, you have to trust me, they're not completely clean. I do live in New Mexico, and I'm oftentimes not just running down a road, but maybe a dusty road, or maybe not on a road at all. But this is a road running shoe, and so this is the type of shoe that I would suggest, not this specific shoe, but a neutral running shoe. And when we say neutral, not just talking about drop, but it doesn't. It is also not a stability shoe. If you go to a shoe store and they may suggest very specific shoes for your specific feet, but I am neither a shoe salesman or a podiatrist. So what I suggest for the common man or the common woman would be a neutral running shoe, not max cushion, no aggressive heel toe drop. And this one, to me, excellent daily running shoe, excellent tempo run shoe, and that is the Hoka Mach 5. I'm sure I don't even know if that's a current model or if there's other newer, fancier models out, because I buy everything on the clearance rack at stores like REI when they are sometimes lightly used or going out of fashion, because fashion and running, although it's fun to have a little bit of fashion when running, it's not completely necessary, and the price of running shoes can get exorbitant. So clearances are where I like to find my shoe. I'm just shopping for a shoe that fits what I'm looking for in my running arsenal. And so in the case when I was looking for a daily runner neutral shoe, I found the Hoka Mach 5s. And so that is the shoe that fits that place in my running closet. Now, another shoe that I have here to talk about, and I probably don't know the name of this shoe. It is, yeah. So here we're going back to me, mispronunciation of shoe names and brands is the Saucony or Saucony. I don't know how to say that word, but Saucony or Saucony. And this is an Endorphin series max cushion running shoe. And when I say max cushion, I am thinking of a lot of events like the Ironman have a rule about the millimeters of thickness, I believe it's the millimeters of thickness. I think it's 40 millimeters. I'll have to come back to you on that one because I might be wrong. If I remember correctly, the maximum is either 38 or 40 millimeters of thickness in the cushion of the shoe, and you cannot have any more than that. So that is the maximum cushion that you can run on. And max cushion shoes, for me, especially I think for a lot of us that are overweight, the place that this belongs in your running arsenal, your running shoe arsenal, is the long run. And the long run is defined as the longest runs that you do. So if you are running on a normal basis, let's say your daily run is 10 miles, well, then that's not your max cushion shoe. Your daily run 10-mile shoe is your neutral shoe. But if you're running 1 mile a day, then this is your daily running shoe. And if 5 miles is your long run, then this is your long run shoe. And I like to cycle between two brands. That's just my personal opinion, is that you should cycle between two types of shoes, two brands. Of course, you could buy all Hoka shoes. And if one day this podcast is amazing and blows up and Saucony or Hoka was sponsoring it, then we would say that we only run Saucony shoes or we only run Hoka shoes. I will sell out as quick as you can write the check, guys. But today I like to cycle through two different brands of shoes. One, I like to just try new things out, and I like to see where the hot spots might be on my feet, which ones feel better, or maybe I want to cycle how my foot is being rubbed and squeezed in different places, and kind of building up a resiliency to different things, different types of shoes, different types of fits. But, obviously properly fit, properly sized to me, these two shoes. But yeah, that max cushion shoe being the max cushion allowed in the event that you want to run. So you want to train with that maximum amount shoe. And this is something I do, but it is not completely necessary. Because the max cushion shoe, I think, is for the long event, the endurance event, an endurance run. And we're not talking about like trail running stuff here. We're talking about road running. Trail running stuff is probably a bit different, but off-road running a bit different. But for me, because it's uneven ground and stability is something that you have to think of completely differently than most road running things. But for me, what I will probably be running with on a race. Now I don't really race races. I just run to complete, right? This is running for the sake of running, or endurance for the sake of endurance, right? We're going to do the events for the sake of doing the events. If you're out to win, that's amazing. If you're out to win your age category, or maybe there's even a weight category in your event and you're out to show out for that, then maybe you're going to try to get a big technical advantage. But the equipment that I use is not to gain a maximum technical advantage, but to complete the event, something that's going to help me complete the event and maybe reach a personal goal. So if I'm trying to run faster or using equipment to run faster, it's because I want to, get a personal record, a PR in that event, or make some kind of advancement in that event. So in a shoe like this, and one of the reasons I selected this shoe when I selected my Max Cushion shoe was that this shoe also comes in kind of a race day version that has a carbon plate in the shoe that kind of acts as a spring when you're running. And some of those carbon plated race day shoes can really shave some time or add some speed at the same perceived effort that you had. But I don't want to try something completely new on a race, and I would never want to train in one of those carbon plated shoes, because if you train in the shoe all the time, then how would you get the advantage on race day? Just probably doesn't work out that way. You would probably just be running exactly the same. So if you I think one of the most popular ones that was like the Nike Airfly or something. Anyways, I don't Nike. So you won't see any Nike running shoes unless we sell out 2 Nike running shoes. You will not see any Nike running shoes in my arsenal. They're all going to be brands like Hoka, Saucony, Asics, Brooks. I run in a lot of different shoes. I try a lot of different things. These 2 I'm happy with right now, and so I'm going to keep running in them. But what I was saying is that my Max Cushion shoe, because I will be running my long distance event in a Max Cushion shoe, I always look for a Max Cushion shoe that also has a model that I could opt to buy if I wanted to shell out the dollars, that had the exact same shoe, basic shape and model, but with the carbon plates, and that will skyrocket the price tag way up. But again, also I try to find them on clearance. So I found these on like an Amazon clearance sale, and so they were less than half of what they retailed for. Same thing over here, paid less than half of what they retailed for at a REI rack sale. So anyways, only thing you need to start training is a pair of shoes, and you don't even need 2 pairs of shoes like I've presented to you here in the options. You just need a pair of shoes, and that is all you need to start walking, start running, and start logging those time in miles. So I hope you're encouraged that the barrier to entry to endurance training, at least to this type of endurance training, just running, is really low, and it just requires shoes. So lace up your shoes, get walking, get running, get out there, put on my Easy Yoke Endurance podcast in your headset, in your earpiece, and listen to me talk to you as you go out on your runs and your walks, and be encouraged that you can do it, and you can continue to put one foot in front of the other, And all that is required to complete your endurance event is to not stop.